I'm Mark. Hey, get in here. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, today, here's our plan. Let's look at my favorite movies from the Cold War. Another film from 1983, WarGames, starring Ferris Bueller and that reject girl from The Breakfast Club. Let's go rogue. My shirt? Yes, it does say Pink Floyd. Hey, yeah, Freaky Friday here at Columbia High School. Where were we? WarGames. WarGames starred a young Matthew Broderick before he was Ferris Bueller, and Ally Sheedy. The movie starts off with a little damnation alley. Two Air Force officers in a bunker responsible for launching ICBMs on the Soviet Union. An order comes to launch missiles. When one of the officers refuses, the other points a pistol at him and demands that he turn his key. It was a test, but it indicated to the Air Force that they could not leave the decision to launch missiles to human beings. They turned instead to technology to make decisions. Dabney Coleman plays Dr. John McKittrick, who has created the War Operations Plan Response, or the WOPR. The WOPR runs through every possible scenario involving a nuclear attack on the United States. It then determines the correct response. Matthew Broderick plays David Lightman, a high school student in Seattle. Intelligent, underachiever, disengaged from his parents, and has few friends. But he loves playing video games, and when he goes home from school, he locks himself in his room and plays games on his computer. Oh, the early 80s, when computers were new, technology, a 4.5-inch floppy, and a dial-up modem. And no, if you're a millennial, 4.5-inch floppy is not what you think it is. David comes across an ad in a magazine for a company called Protovision, announcing things will never be the same. He hacks into their system and accesses some of their games that they're offering. While hanging out with Jennifer, Ally Sheedy, and his 4.5-inch floppy, he's able to reach a Protovision database and acquire a list of games. They go from the simple tic-tac-toe and checkers to more complex. The last game on the list is Global Thermonuclear War. He wants to play that game. Who wouldn't? But David is locked out of the system. He's told to try a back door to get into Protovision, a simple word or phrase that the creator may have used to access the program. In trying to find the back door, David discovers that the games are created by a man named Stephen Falcon, who has a son named Joshua. Ding, 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 we have a winner. Using Joshua as the password, David gets into the system and accesses the game Global Thermonuclear War. He challenges Joshua to a game. He plays as the USSR and launches missiles against Las Vegas and Seattle. NORAD is the United States Nuclear Command Center. The missiles that David launched in his game show up on the screens at NORAD as a Soviet launch. When David's parents yell at him, he logs off his computer and the missiles disappear from NORAD's screens. NORAD figures something is up. A couple days later, Joshua calls David back wanting to finish the game. When the FBI finds out that it was David Lightner of Seattle, Washington that was responsible for the missiles detected at NORAD, they arrest him while he's walking out of a 7-Eleven with a big gulp. How could they? He's taken to NORAD, where he's questioned by Dr. John McKittrick, the inventor of the WOPR. Joshua, still playing the game as the United States, begins prepping his missiles for launch. And the actual American missiles become active as well. When McKittrick is called away, David jumps onto the computer, contacting Joshua and asking if he's still playing the game. Joshua replies, of course. David is seen messing around with the Air Force computers, and he's hauled off again. But not before Joshua tells him that Falcon is alive and living on an island off the Oregon coast. David's detained again, but sneaks out. Come on, if Ferris Bueller can elude Ed Rooney, he can also elude the best minds of the United States Air Force. He leaves NORAD with a tour group. Once out of NORAD, he calls Jennifer, who's able to get him a flight from Colorado back to Oregon, where they meet with Professor Falcon, who has given up on humanity and moved into a house close to a primary target for Soviet missiles, so he can be killed quickly when the strike does come. A millisecond of intense heat, and then nothing. David and Jennifer decide to leave. But Falcon has a change of heart and takes the teens back to NORAD. Inside the reinforced mountain at NORAD, the game continues to play out on the screens in front of the Air Force with a massive first strike by the Soviet Union against the United States. NORAD, coded Crystal Palace, gets the first 3 bases that would be hit on the line and tells them to stand by. The screens in front of them show the Soviet missiles striking the bases, but the bases report no missile strike. Yay! Everyone cheers, and the game is over. Or is it? Continuing to play the game, Joshua begins deciphering the U.S. launch codes so that he can retaliate. As he obtains one number after another, Falcon tries to communicate with him. They get Pro Division's list of games back up, and David challenges Joshua to a game of tic-tac-toe, believing that if Joshua learns, he will not jump into starting World War III. Well, that doesn't work. Joshua will have the code and launch his missiles in no time. So David has Joshua play itself, hoping that it will learn that every game ends without a winner. The games proceed, being played faster and faster and faster until there's an explosion and the power goes out in the war room. The only power is the screens which show an American first strike against the Soviet Union. The Soviets counterstrike, and when the action is finished, the screen says, winner, none. The monitors show a second strike that ends with winner, none. A third strike is attempted, followed by every possible strike scenario in the U.S. Missile Command's playbook, each in faster and faster succession, and each ending with the words, winner, none. When every scenario has been attempted, the screens go black, except for a blinking cursor. Then Joshua's computer voice comes on the intercom announcing, strange game, Professor Falcon. The only winning move is not to play. How about a nice game of chess? Roll credits. The film was a box office success. It was made at a cost of $12 million and made back $79 million in its first run. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards. WarGames is the atomic love child of the 1963 movies Dr. Strangelove and Failsafe. In both those movies, the world is pushed towards nuclear war. In both those movies, there are specific protocols that must be followed in response to nuclear aggression. Rules that cannot be ignored. In both movies, a technical glitch starts the countdown towards war, and efforts to breach the technology are blocked. In Dr. Strangelove, there's no way to stop the Soviet doomsday machine after an accidental attack by the United States. The doomsday machine is detonated, destroying all of life on Earth. In Failsafe, Soviet jamming of the radios of an attacking squadron of bombers blocks American commanders' efforts to recall them. Technology is also the villain in WarGames. The Whopper supercomputer is in charge of all decision-making for our nuclear forces, but it is open to being hacked, and it is, by David Lightman, a teen from Seattle. WarGames was released the same year as Special Bulletin the day after, and the year before Threads. These were all reactions to the nuclear brinksmanship of President Ronald Reagan and criticisms of the theory of mutually assured destruction, or MAD. The idea that knowing that both sides have the power to destroy each other, our destruction is mutually assured and neither side would strike first. Strange game, Professor Falcon. The only winning move is not to play. In WarGames, a nuclear incident is averted, unlike the other 3. In that way, WarGames captures the Zeitgeist, the spirit of the age of the 1980s. It was a kind of bubblegum movie that made you feel good and have a couple of laughs while watching the world speed towards nuclear annihilation. You see that strange dichotomy in the pop music of the 1980s. Go down to the dance clubs. That dude from English Beat singing I'll Stop the World and Melt With You. A beautiful thought. Becoming one with your friend as the nukes go off nearby and your flesh starts dripping together like the paint on Bob Ross's palette. Prince was going to party like it's 1999. Sky was all purple, there were people running everywhere. Tried to run from the destruction, you know I didn't even care. One of the most popular dance songs of the 80s was from a German band called Nena. 99 Luftballons, 2 Jahren Deutsch in high school. 99 red balloons, the story about how toy balloons were released in a park in Berlin. They got blown towards the Berlin Wall, and these German military mistook it for a missile attack and started World War III. all because some kids let go of 99 balloons. The fear that World War III might be coming, but the knowledge that no one would be stupid enough to launch first. The only winning move is not to play. You went to bed at night in the 80s, fearing that millisecond of intense heat, and then nothing. You woke up the next morning to bright sun, big hair, brightly colored clothes, and the assurance that not even Ferris Bueller could hack into NORAD and start World War III. Hey, thanks for coming by. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. I hope you did both. Like and subscribe if you did. Leave a comment below. I want to thank my producer, Casey Moulton. I also thank Mr. Brent Allen for letting us use his studio here on the campus of Columbia High School. I had fun. I love talking about the 80s. But I won't quit my day job. And tell you what, next time you see Ferris Bueller, remember me. I'm Mark Haggard. I'm a history teacher. And I've gone rogue. Ooh, bow, bow. Ooh, bow, bow.